There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely it would happen in reverse. So we won the election. And
check. Okay. Everything should be able to like working correctly. I haven't posted about it or anything though.
President Biden, you have 2 minutes.
I can post about it.
First of all,
Okay.
thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr. President. The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is, and that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because
You know what's going down? Oh man, I already fucked up.
election has already started. Tens of
I'm gonna mute
thousands
you
of
for a
people
second
have
while you do that.
voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election
All right,
is.
y'all.
Because
Me
that's
and
the
Raul
only
right
way
now,
the
we
American
are
people get
in
to express their view is
live
by who
with
they elect as
the
president
U.S.
and who they
debates.
elect as
We're in
vice
the
president.
zone.
Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear.
I'm turning up the audio,
wants to
Steven.
get
Give me
rid
a
of the
second.
Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
He's been running on that. He ran on that, and he's been governing on
There you
that.
go.
Alright,
You should
y'all,
be able to hear
me and
pretty good
Raul,
now.
The Supreme Court
We are
right now
watching the
trying to get
U.S.
rid of,
debates
the
right
Affordable
now,
Care Act,
rooting for,
which will strip
if even
20
rooting
million
for,
people
maybe talking shit about both.
from having
Biden
Definitely.
and Trump.
insurance, health
Who
insurance
knows?
now.
Find out.
If it goes into court, and the justice, and I have nothing. I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person, but she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right.
He's a
she
pussy, dude.
thinks that it's not constitutional. The other thing is on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again,
I can hear your audio a little
woman
bit.
could be held pay more money because
Yeah.
she has
Yeah,
a
a little
pre-existing
bit.
condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man did.
What about now?
That's better.
And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll
Hold on,
be
man.
taken away as well.
Is that better, Steven?
Those pre-existing conditions? The insurance companies are going to love this. And
Hold on, I can
it's
barely
just
hear
not
you.
appropriate
Let me see if I
to do
can.
this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February. All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing
Boring.
conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had this.
Yo, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Justice
Can you hear me?
Ginsburg said
Yes.
very powerfully,
Okay,
very
I can hear you through the
strongly,
headphones.
At some
We're
Oh,
good.
cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
10 years ago or so, she said a president
Let's go.
and the Senate is elected
He looks
for
awful
a
now,
period of time, but a president's
honestly.
elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected
Who are you
for
talking
3
about?
years.
Trump. He looks really
so we
bad
have
now.
the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that
I mean, he was
period
old
of
when he got
time-
in, but he looks
during
way
that
older
period
now.
of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for
That's
3
what
years. I'm elected for
presidency
4
does to
years.
you.
For sure.
100 million
Dude,
people-
Obama
Joe,
was young
100 million
when
people
he
is totally wrong.
first
I
got
don't know where
on.
you got that
8 years
number.
later, dude, he looks
The
like he's in
bigger
his
problem that you
60s
have
at least.
is that
Yeah.
you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly
knows
going
that.
to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to
This
socialist
is,
medicine.
we're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open
It's funny how he
discussion.
calls
Discussion,
everybody a
discussion. Yes, I
socialist.
agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Right.
Number one,
Like Joe Biden's nowhere
he
near a
knows
fucking
that
socialist, of
what I
course.
proposed. What I proposed is that we expand.
I think
Obamacare
anybody can agree
and
with that,
we
honestly.
increase it. We do not
Definitely.
wipe
Because
any- and
he didn't
one of
run
the
as
big
like
debates we
the
had with
socialist
23
kind of person.
Of my colleagues
No,
trying
not at
to
all.
win the
Like, pretty
nomination
much
that
like
I
the
won.
opposite.
We're saying that Biden wanted to.
That's why
allow
Bernie
people to
didn't
have
win, was
private
because they
insurance.
literally didn't want
They can.
him.
They do. They will. Under
It
my
was probably
proposal.
like the
what you
closest
said,
thing to
right? That's not
socialism,
what
if
the
not
party is saying.
That is
socialism.
simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
That is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the
This
way,
is good. This is good.
the 200,000 people.
He's
that have
standing up
died
against
on
him. It's
his
good.
watch,
Yeah, no,
how many of
America
those
likes that
have
strongman shit,
survived?
for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
there's 7
Yeah,
million
yeah.
people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act. And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't be
the deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right,
China,
gentlemen,
which
no,
was heavily
Mr. President.
You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr.
Much
President,
later.
Mr. President.
Bro, look
About
at this
2
man.
million people.
Mr. President, as
Shut
a
him up.
moderator,
He don't care, bro.
COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's
begun.
on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is
you
it on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
And you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a
her view on Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't know
don't
her
know.
view.
Well, all
No,
right,
she's
let's-
like a Catholic
all right, let's talk-
fundamentalist lady. It's pretty easy. This
We
is
got a lot to unpack.
That's
here,
what I've heard,
but we got a
yeah,
lot of time,
yeah.
So, on health care, and then we'll come back.
No, yeah,
to
it's
Roe
pretty
v.
easy to
Wade.
deduce
All
like
right,
her
Mr.
opinion
President,
on it.
the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
minute.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace
Bro,
Obamacare.
how are you gonna be trying to
but
own the
you
moderator?
have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
Bro, he's trying to
Got
own
rid
the
of
moderator.
individual
When I finish, I'm
mandate.
gonna give you an
Excuse me,
opportunity.
I got
When
rid of the individual mandate.
He's debating the moderator.
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely
Sir,
He goes on with like a long ass rebuttal too, like a real rebuttal.
The individual mandate was the most.
What is going on?
I got rid of it.
I'd like you
and we
to,
will
Mr.
protect people.
President, I'm the moderator of this
It just
debate,
started, Chris, like
and
10
I would
minutes
like
ago,
you
not
to
even.
Let me ask my question.
He's
and
debating
then
the
you can
moderator
answer.
already.
ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell
He
you
said
something.
it too. He admitted it.
There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma.
You started
Drug
that.
prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it.
You know what sucks about this is he's kind of
All
right.
the things that we've done,
He has not cut
insulin.
health
I give
care.
you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families,
talking about,
destroying people. The cost.
Trump?
I'm
Trump?
getting it for
Yeah.
so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth? So cheap. Take a look at
So
all
cheap,
of the
it's like
drugs
water.
that- what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you
big.
about,
This
you'll
is
be happy,
big stuff.
sir,
He's still
you'll be
debating the
happy.
moderator.
I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare, and
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that
That's
is
actually
going
alpha
to
as
end
fuck,
private
right?
insurance.
It is
and
not.
well,
What, to
Debate
debate
the
the
moderator, yeah.
end
kind of is, yeah.
it will end private
He's not even
insurance and
accepting.
create a
He's not
I don't
even
know.
accepting like the
takeover of
terms of the
It's not. It's
question.
only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie Sanders, who's
I
far
did-
left, on the manifesto,
when
we
you-
call it.
when
And that
manifest-
gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you
I'm
saying
not
you
going
didn't
to listen to
agree?
him. The
That
fact of
sucks,
the
'cause he's
matter is,
lying.
I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by
I'm-
much.
I wish
I
Joe
beat him
Biden
a
won
whole hell of a
Medicare
lot.
for all.
Not by
I'm here
much.
standing facing you, buddy.
Pocahontas would have left
Well,
2 days
I-
early.
Oh my
you would have
God,
lost
dude.
every primary.
All he knows how to
on
do is
Super Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agreed
That was
wanna make
cool.
sure-
That was really good.
I want to make sure.
graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
Come on.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that.
No, he needs to like keep
has-
going. He needs
you
to
know,
not even
right.
like
You
stop
pick-
and
Piece of
just
press.
speak
The
over
wrong
him.
guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost
Oh
the left.
no, he's fucking up, dude.
You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Jesus
He is
Christ.
straight up just
You
talking
know,
about it.
before this, I was thinking Trump was gonna be like kind of because he's been kind of like loopy lately on TV.
Mr. President.
But he's like
He
really,
is
he's
not
still pretty
for
sharp,
Any
honestly.
help for people needing health care.
He just knows how to take over.
He
in fact,
trolls
Because like
like
he literally,
IRL.
has
he's trying to,
cost
he's
10
going
million
from
people their health care
debating
that
the
they have from
moderator
employers
to
because of
now
his
he's talking
recession.
over Joe
Number
Biden.
one. Number
Yeah, and he's
two,
like telling him he's like
he's
Bernie
literally-
Sanders.
he's the debate.
getting health
It's
care
probably
from
good in his
Obamacare
favor.
now that he wants to take it
Oh,
away.
yeah. No,
he
this
won't
is like-
ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But-
because
and by the way, he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
This is
you
good.
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
Obamacare
realize
is
He
that
gets
you're
tripped
both
up, though.
speaking
He
at the
gets
same
frustrated.
time.
He gets tripped up.
Let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We
Dude,
made
he's
it
been
better,
talking for like
and
a
I had
minute
choice to
already.
make
What do you mean,
very
let him
early
go?
on. We took away the individual
He hasn't-
mandate.
he hasn't
we
stopped
guaranteed
talking.
pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed, that they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people, okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
And I
known
just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive,
I got it.
premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his
So
people said.
we do
No,
want to
no,
get
no.
rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open-
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir, but
something
I have
that's
to
cheaper and
give you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care. Of
course we do.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right.
He's
I
against
have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how
you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
you gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't wanna
you're a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
Yes, pack the court. Tell them you're gonna pack the court. Fuck it.
Justice,
The
radical
question-
left.
Would you
Who
shut
is
up,
on,
man?
Listen, who is on your list?
Oh man, he
Joe?
told him to shut up. That was
This
pretty
is
cool.
so right.
That was
Gentlemen,
Chad.
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
He's gonna pack the
unpresidential.
court.
That
We
is
have
so-
I'm not gonna give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second
Jesus.
segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it?
That was funny.
Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
No, yeah,
After
no. See, this is
47
good.
years,
Like you
you've done
can't,
nothing. They
you can't be
understand.
All
too
right.
civil with him. You
The
can't try to be
second
like holier
subject
than thou
is
with Trump. Like you really got to make
which
fun
is
of
an
him
awfully serious
sometimes.
subject, so
You got to like make him look weak.
let's try to
He
be
just-
serious about it.
Yeah. See, that was good. You gotta, like, ridicule, like, fascists like that.
Coronavirus in the United States.
It doesn't
and
work
more
to
than
try to be like
200,000 people,
you know, to try to
have
like
died.
engage them in good
Even
faith because they don't engage
after we
that way.
produce a vaccine,
like you're playing
experts say
with a different
that
set
it
of
could be
rules.
months or even years before we come
Or playing
back
their
to
game,
anything
pretty much.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so
They're talking about
far, and
coronavirus.
what you have said you would do starting in 2021.
This one's big. This is like
why
one of the really
should
big
the American
topics.
people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? in this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths.
What's up, all-nighter? It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease.
Yeah.
What did he do?
No, this is all good. This is all good normie
shit. He's acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that.
He wants to say something so bad, bro.
Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then?
That shit sucks though. I don't like the Chinese like scaremongering shit. I'm not here for that.
He still doesn't have a plan.
You don't have to do that shit to be effective against him.
Exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap.
What about direct relief to workers?
And go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we
what about direct relief to workers? What about another stimulus check?
To you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible.
No.
You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump said,
let's go, man. Let's go.
He said, Dr. Fauci
said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look.
It's funny how he just be lying like so confidently, right?
Most of them said
that.
In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press.
He wouldn't have made ventilators. Didn't he take down
But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job
they made
you don't have it in your blood.
To prepare for something like this.
Yes.
I know how to do the job. I know
the pandemic response team. Yeah, he got rid of it. He gutted it.
H1N1. You were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no.
One of the things that really sucks about Biden is he has a record to look back on, like a bad one.
You made a point. Let him answer.
And there was no one
because of swine flu, like he said.
Everything. Biden he's done a lot of bad shit.
He's shut down. The reason it's shut down.
No, true that. Yeah.
Look. You folks,
because he's always been like a Republican Democrat, like he's always been like a moderate,
at the kitchen table
like center
because someone
Democrat.
died of COVID.
You think he would bring that up then?
You were in a situation
because
where you lost your
like his
he just called him a socialist.
Couldn't even speak to him.
Oh yeah, I mean it doesn't matter. Trump doesn't care what's true or consistent or anything like that. It's just like I mean he's not gonna call him a moderate or anything like that. But he's just gonna like pick out those individually bad like things that he's done.
Another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year, and he held up. He said, "If we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask." And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you
True.
don't. What we trust is a scientist.
That's
You know,
facts.
We trust Dr.
Johnson,
Fauci.
Johnson, Pfizer.
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future, because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask.
This is like the
Focusing on
only good
future,
thing
for
about this
President
election,
Trump,
honestly.
You have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing, because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political, because the left, or I don't know if I call them left, I don't know what I call them.
Head of
It's a
your
very
Operation
political thing.
Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui?
I disagree with that. Yeah. No, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner.
He's
I had
so
him in my
bold-faced
office
about
2 days ago.
everything.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He
Dr.
said it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking
after
about when it's
that.
generally available. not when it
Well,
will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
this
delivering
is the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said
That's good.
sarcastically,
That was
you
seem-
know that.
I-
that
I-
was said
No, that was
sarcastically.
really
so here's
good.
the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine.
He got him. He got him.
Every serious company is
He
talking
had to
about
respond, 'cause that
maybe
shit was
having a
ridiculous.
vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up, though,
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is saying you can't trust the scientists.
No. You can't trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
She said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be
Yes.
suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to
That's
do.
true.
But there's millions of
What
scientists.
the
There's
fuck is-
thousands
oh, this is
of
a Fox
scientists
News
out there,
guy.
like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
and Fauci,
scientists that are in
and
charge.
by the way,
they will have
and
the vaccine very soon.
Let him finish.
do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record
It's not bad,
saying it.
honestly.
He panicked, or he
Much
just looked
better
at the
than I
stock
expected
market.
Biden to
One
do.
of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart?
He needs to follow up with solutions, though.
So
He's
you
not
said
like
you
he's
went
just talking
to
about how Trump
Delaware
is
State,
bad.
but you forgot the name of your
He's not talking
college.
about how he can do
You didn't go
better.
to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what?
Damn.
There's nothing smart about you, Jim. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if you
Oh my
would have
God.
had, let me just say,
You just called him stupid,
you
dude.
would have had
Bro.
the charge of what I was put through. I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
and it's
We're gonna
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy.
That's a low blow, man. That's
I
a
know. No, that was
going up
deeply
fast.
personal.
Forward to
That was
When
wild.
it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide them plastic.
Tell that to Nancy Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi. And Schumer.
By the way, Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with the Senate. And he sits on his golf course. And I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play more than I do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact?
Well, he wants to shut down this country, and I want to keep it open. And we did a great thing by shutting it down.
Talk about relief.
Let me shut you down.
He needs to talk about economic relief. Look, right now, Joe Biden could be talking about how he's going to give everybody a stimulus check.
We just went through.
Make sure everybody's taken care of.
We didn't know anything about the disease.
Give money to
Now
small
we found
businesses.
that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems
they don't want to go out on that
very,
limb.
very vulnerable.
It's
We
just like they
learned a
don't wanna
lot.
even
Young
propose that
children
because
aren't.
then they would have
Even
to actually
younger
do something.
people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd.
I want to move on to another
because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to another
I gotta
subject.
respond.
It's a very political thing.
Those states are not
Here we
doing
go,
well.
moderating the debater.
They're
Debating the
President
moderator.
Trump, you have begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer.
dude.
And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
of
You have
masks?
to understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say,
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look,
I think I've definitely
way to
seen him
open
take off his
businesses
mask.
is give them the wherewithal to
In
be
front
able
of,
to-
like,
It's just
We
funny. That's what he
provided
chooses to
money,
attack
the
him.
But I was asking
Like
you, sir,
make him
about
look like a bitch by being like,
Masks,
yeah, you don't
masks
take
make
off the
a big
mask.
difference. His own CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also
It
said the
matters.
opposite. They've also said the opposite.
No serious person said the opposite.
They've
No
also said, well, look
serious
all right, I
at
wanna
person.
Dr.
ask you-
Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the
He
opposite.
did not
I
say
want to
the
ask you, we
opposite.
got a
Said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good. I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both about
masks.
one last subject, because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands
yeah.
of people.
Outside.
Super spreader
Outside,
parties.
yes, sir. Agreed.
That's what I'm talking about.
Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up.
people with.
Well, it's true. Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
for
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issue,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside.
Herman
That's a big
Cain
difference,
died
according
because
to
he
the
went to a Trump rally.
Experts, and we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds.
Herman Cain
as
died
you see. I
'cause he
mean,
went to
every-
a fucking Trump rally.
and literally
Like,
on
straight
24
up.
hours' notice.
But like
And
for real
Jim
though,
does
that's
the
like a.
circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
I mean,
By
like
the
if
way,
people
just
who are
the
going to vote for Joe
deception,
Biden probably
one
want to
of
go
the
to
last for big
to a
rallies he
rally.
had, and
Because there's a
reporter
fucking
came up to
pandemic,
him
bro.
to ask him a
Yeah.
question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put
Dude.
on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing on one another.
We've had no negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl.
True.
No
No
negative effect.
We've
Come
had
on.
no negative effect, and we've had 35, 40,000
All right.
people.
You want to?
Bro, he probably already
just
had it.
quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I
Trump
would.
probably
He's
already
been
got it.
totally irresponsible.
And he's like,
the way
yeah,
in
it's
which
nothing.
he has handled
Because he got over
the
it.
social
'Cause he has health,
distancing
like
and
really good
people wearing
healthcare,
masks.
probably.
Basically, encourage them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same
Get
thing.
'em.
But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected.
Oh, this is
from the
this is going to be a good
shutdown.
segment.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape.
What the fuck are they
difference
talking about?
does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before.
7-8 second delay.
He will shut it down again.
He
will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs,
you might be able to catch it up if you go to the YouTube video and just pull your thing forward.
When you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening at some of your Democrat-run states.
Oh no, Ronnie accidentally left.
And I'm telling you, it's because
Ronnie, where did you go?
Want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that.
We lost Ronnie,
guys.
We're going to
open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost, it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce. Look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing.
I mean, he's right about some of this stuff.
He'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
We got to.
All right.
We still kind of have a crisis going on.
To you.
But it's cool, man. I guess.
As I said, posing the question, the president
I feel like the whole approach
recovery.
has been like, just ignore this and act like it's not happening.
What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well.
They have. That's true.
Billionaires
come on, Joe.
Made another $300 billion.
True.
Because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Oh, true, true.
Yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have
Ronnie said he's coming back. He's having trouble with Discord.
A significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID
Ronnie,
in the United States.
I see your icon,
and he wants
but
to
I don't hear you.
More. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't.
This is the part where Joe Biden should be talking about economic relief, by the way, like a second stimulus check, like a second PPP thing for businesses.
Safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to
so what should we do to help small businesses,
take care of the
Joe
needs
Biden?
of the American people so we can open safely.
All right.
We need direct relief.
We are going to get
We need
to
direct
I
aid.
had to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes.
We
sir.
need direct aid.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their
Look, this is
schools-
funny.
no,
He never
people want
accepts
their
like the
schools
terms of
open.
the
They
moderator.
don't want to be shut down.
He like
They don't want their
always
state
has
shut
to
down. They
fucking
want their restaurants. I
like
look at
reset
New
the
York.
terms
It's
of the
so
question
sad
or
what's
the
happening in New York.
conversation.
It's almost like a ghost town, and I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back.
He brought back
Big Ten
football, okay?
football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
people of
let's-
Ohio are very proud of me. And you know,
It's
how I
been
got
like
that?
a
When
minute,
Gentlemen,
and
we're gonna get
the
to
moderator
your
told them to
economic
move on like a
plans
minute
going
ago.
forward in a moment, but first, Mr. President,
Can you hear
as
me?
you well know,
Yeah.
there's a new report
All right,
that
cool.
in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other
yeah, I
taxes,
can see you
but
now,
I'm
too.
asking you the specific
All right,
question.
but-
Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in
didn't.
one of the papers.
I haven't seen the tax
I
ones.
paid $38 million.
They
one
released
year.
them.
I paid 27
Did you not see that?
million.
Show us
I haven't
your
looked at
tax
them.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as.
Well,
it's
apparently
finished.
he
You'll
paid
see it.
$750
You know what I do?
like a couple years
Go to the
ago.
Board of
Jesus.
Elections.
If not
There's
last year.
118
That is
pages
that
or
is like
so
a straight up
report
like a
that says
crime.
everything I
He should
have,
be in
every
jail
bank
for
I have,
that.
I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very I built a
Sir,
great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you-
I understand.
He's
all
getting
that.
heated
I
because this is like
understand.
his personal
But-
brand that's
no,
being
Mr.
insulted.
President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a
Yeah.
question. Will you tell us how much
Everything
you
that he's
paid in
built.
federal income
Yeah.
taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Come on.
Millions of dollars.
You
Millions
paid
of
millions
dollars.
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to
when?
see it. But let
And
me just
Shala?
tell you, Chris. Let me just.
You
say
know why he
something.
doesn't like this? Because it makes him
was
look
the
like he's
tax
cheap.
laws.
Like that's
I
the
don't
only
wanna pay
reason he
tax.
doesn't fucking like it.
Before I came here, I was a private developer.
Everything
I
that
was a
Biden
private
has
business
said in, like,
people.
the past few
like
minutes has
every
been
other
that-
private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax
Dude,
credits
he's fat
like the
now.
hotel on
He's fatter
Pennsylvania
than
Avenue. You get a
he was
massive,
before.
which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired
no,
right after that happened. But
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make
I'll
sure that
believe it
we
when I
invest
see
in
it,
the
Joe.
people who, in fact, need
Yeah,
the
right.
help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you
Ask
do it
him-
over the last
wait,
25
no,
years?
Because you
I
Oh,
wanna-
here we
Why didn't you
go.
do it over
Because
the
you
last
weren't
25
president
years?
screwing
No.
things up.
You
No,
were a
this is
senator.
that's
You're the
correct.
worst
Why didn't you do it like a
America's
long ass
ever
time ago?
had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
Oh.
We've done things that you never even thought of doing,
Okay,
including
gentlemen.
fixing the broken military that you gave me.
That
was a banger. That was a lot. That was a bar,
About
right?
the economy, I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward, because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan.
That was like a meme. He definitely
if you
thought
were
of
to
that
be
shit
elected
before this
president,
debate.
focuses a lot on big
Oh, yeah.
government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Shut
Well,
up.
Just take a look at what of
course Chris Wallace
the
chose these
analysis
fucking
done
questions.
by Wall Street firms points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years. Number one.
No,
And
this is
number
the part where you
two,
say, yeah,
it
we're going
would
to tax them
create
into
an
the fucking
additional
ground.
$1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to
Yes, no, just say we're going to tax them into the fucking ground.
28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of
We're gonna tax
dollars.
them in the ground.
Billions of dollars.
You were vice president.
You should say that.
Obama.
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
Right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
you got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy
Boom.
is
Mr.
busted.
President,
let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that.
Joe
You
Biden's probably not
would
gonna be
continue
effective, like, against
your
this
free
question,
market
anything he
approach,
says,
lower taxes,
honestly.
more deregulation.
Because he's
correct?
afraid to, like,
Lower
offend
taxes
rich
American
people.
But let me,
Excuse me.
but in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming, it turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929.
You be looking funny
It
to
was
me.
the slowest recovery.
I don't know
Also,
why.
they took over something that
Got
was
a
down
stiff
here.
ass
All you had
face,
to do
that's
was
why.
turn on the lights and you pick
It
up a
doesn't
lot.
move.
But they had
Yeah.
the slowest economic recovery.
It's like
since
only his
1929.
eyes
Let
and
me
his
tell you about the
lips
stock
move.
market.
Everything
It's
else is
literally
like
like-
very
That
still.
means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty
Half
of
of the
companies that are
companies,
already here, they'll leave for
hardly any
other
companies
places.
have
They will
poured in
leave,
here.
and you will have a
Have it.
depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice President.
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about. We handed him a booming economy.
You did great,
he
Joe.
Blew it.
It wasn't
he
booming.
Blew it. He blew
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery
Well, sir, is it
since
fair to, wait,
$1929.
is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID came in.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole. It's
cares?
number one.
Nobody cares about
Number two.
manufacturing
Chris,
anymore.
Number three.
They
I mean, some
said
people
it would
do,
take,
but
no, you were
who
number
the
two.
fuck?
No.
Chris, they
manufacturing's
said it would
gone
take a
from
miracle
America.
to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of my
not bring it.
standard fare.
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
All right, let him.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew
Oh, yeah,
it.
he has like
They're
a
gone.
fade,
He
like an
blew
edge
it.
up of tan
And
line.
In fact, they're going
Ohio
after
had the best year it's ever had
Steven.
last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies.
I think they're
went
gonna take a
from
break soon. We'll look
Germany,
at
from
comments,
Japan,
and we'll,
went
like,
to
actually
Michigan
talk
and
about
went
it a
to
little bit.
Ohio.
They're not having
And they
Mr.
didn't
Vice-
come
wait,
in
wait,
with
wait,
you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you
Oh,
take a look
legit.
at what he's actually
You
done.
look at his scalp.
He's done very little.
Yeah, he has like an edge up, like a tan line edge
He
up.
talks about these great trade deals. He talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal.
The
We
art of
have
the
a
steal.
higher deficit
Oh,
with
that was
China now than
bars.
we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch down
All right, gentlemen,
18%.
in-
China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder
Oh
your
my
son goes
God.
in and he takes out billions of dollars, takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also,
Simply
while
not
we're at it,
true.
why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
This
What
is
did he
bad. This is
do
really bad for Joe
to
Biden.
deserve
Wait,
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
your
is
question,
true.
let him answer.
This
Not-
plays really
none of that
well
is
with
true.
his
Oh, really?
base.
He didn't
Totally
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please. You've
Totally
asked a question.
discredited. Totally discredited.
No, this is the
By the
part.
way,
Well, wait, he didn't
let's
get
talk-
$3.5 million?
See, this is the part where you start bringing up how his
He got
family does a lot of
$3.5
inside deals
It is
from
not
being
true.
in the
Oh, really?
administration.
Mr. President,
Like some of the stuff that came out from those taxes I read, they like pay each other for consulting to avoid taxes.
You
It's
have
not
raised an issue. Let
The
the
fuck?
Vice President
Yeah.
answer.
Discredited.
This is where he
It
should
was
start
a
saying
regular-
that stuff.
$183,000
He's a crook. Like, it's so
With
easy to
no
hit him back.
experience in
It's
energy.
so easy to just
Look, President,
like
my
take him
son
home,
did
take him to
nothing
fucking
wrong
town.
at Burisma,
I think he did.
and
Mr.
the only guy
President,
that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath
So let me ask you this, Joe.
No, go ahead,
He is
Mr.
earned.
I'm listening to you.
He's extra
You
earned.
got $3.5 million from Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say-
Wait a minute. You get the final word. Mr.
Well, it's
Oh,
hard to get
man.
any
What a
word in
shit
with this
show.
clown. Excuse me.
Hey, let me just say.
Hell yeah. No, don't
Mr.
even
President,
excuse me.
Mr. President,
Roll with that shit.
That is simply
Why did he
not true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics.
There
I
you
don't
go.
want to do that.
No,
his
then
family
what
we
you
could
supposed to
talk
do
about
right
all
now?
night. His family's
What is he
already-
doing? I don't want to do that. You do that right now. This is like the perfect time to do that. He's so weak on this
And that's
point.
such a-
They're right here.
Mr.
That's such
President.
a
Every
great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us
family.
with
It's
government.
about your family.
They
The
didn't-
American
He only
Oh,
made the
come
smallest
on.
hint.
That's not
added,
true.
but he could
It
have just
doesn't
Yeah.
want
He
to
coulda
talk
he coulda really
about
bit down there
what
and took
you
him
I feel like that
home.
kind of means it's
you,
true.
the American people.
Yeah,
It's about
that's why he
you.
doesn't want to talk
That's
about
what
it,
we're
'cause
talking about.
that shit is,
Not about
there's
you.
some really weird shit about his son in Ukraine and Russia.
Didn't
And
take them.
Vice President.
all that shit is-
No,
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
it's just like
He stood
political
up.
favors.
No,
He stood up
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion.
come on.
if you
That
get rid of
is
the trust.
You know what?
absolutely not
stop.
true.
You're on tape
You're
doing it.
You're going to have.
This is awful.
Is-
I hate to raise my voice,
He's
but I
on
see it
tape.
seems to be, why shouldn't I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Got a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you,
If
sir,
he
to
doesn't
do
want to
that.
talk about race,
And him
bro.
too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
I
interruptions.
can see
that's
that.
all right, but
Actually.
he
I
does
can really
plenty.
see that.
He doesn't want to talk about race?
Sir, less
There's
than
plenty.
No, less than you.
That's what he
have.
said. He has a
Please
question about
continue on.
race.
Oh,
The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say
All right,
that
here we go.
President
They can talk about anything.
Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago.
This
when
one's
he
gonna get
talked
really
about
fashy,
very
probably.
fine people on both sides was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said
He don't
that you
shut up,
believe
dude.
you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the
Fuck it.
Constitution.
Eat shit.
And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America.
I mean, that's good messaging, but it's
we've
just
never
like,
accomplished it. But
doesn't
we've
mean
never
anything.
It's
walked away
bullshit.
from
too
it.
vague,
no,
yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
It is true. The reason I got in the races when those people, close
It's
your
not
eyes,
sincere.
remember what those people looked like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what
Oh,
he
you talking
thought.
about
He said, "We're
Charlottesville.
very fine people on both sides."
That was good. That
No
was good.
president's ever
Finish
said
the
anything
statement.
like
There you go.
that.
He's fucking racist.
It
Call him
is-
racist.
Now,
Two
second,
minutes.
Call him racist.
Second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the
we go.
military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people.
He's getting
not unite
uncomfortable.
people at all. This
Don't
is
worry.
a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to
Nice.
generate racist hatred,
Yes.
racist division.
Call him racist. Call him
This is
racist.
a man
Call him
who,
racist.
in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus.
The coronavirus.
And if he doesn't do something quickly,
The
by
COVID
the end of the year,
2012
1 in
virus.
500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is the savior of African Americans. This man cares at all.
This man?
This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust
that was
you
okay.
over
But he needs-
your opponent
he
to
need-
deal
he-
with racism.
the
Did a
question-
crime bill, 1994.
He needs to talk about how
where you
he's,
call
what
them
he's going to do.
super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did
Oof,
that, and
this
they
is
called
bad.
you super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this
True.
country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them
True.
super predators, and you've called them worse than that.
That was Hillary Clinton.
Because
They
you
called
look
Really
back
say
at
that?
your
Predators.
testimony
No,
over
that
the
was
years, you've
Hillary
called them a
Clinton.
lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 200,
Look at Joe Biden's eyes, dude.
250 military leaders
He is
and generals.
definitely, like,
total
schizo.
support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know
He
what?
says
If
that.
they called us
I don't
in
know if he
Portland,
says law
we would
enforcement
put out that
specifically, but,
fire
like,
in a half an
a lot
hour.
of his
But
ads
they
have
won't
been
do it because
about
they're run by
law and
radical
order.
left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at
Like,
any place you want to look,
anybody
Seattle,
on the radical
they heard
left
we
side,
were coming in the following day, and they put
they're
up their
voting
hands,
for him.
and we
They're
got
sticking
back
to
Seattle.
voting for him
Minneapolis,
just to get him out,
we got
just
it
to get
back,
Trump out.
Joe,
Yeah.
because we
But
believe in
it's
law
like,
and order,
no
but
matter-
you don't.
it's already
The
been
top
decided
10 cities and
pretty
just
much.
about the
They're
top
voting for
40
if they're voting
cities
at all.
Yeah,
are
definitely.
Run by
100%.
Democrats and in many cases radical left, and they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race.
He's
Vice President
made
Biden,
some Law and
after
Order
the
ads,
grand
by the
jury
way.
in the Breonna Taylor
Which
case
sucks, too,
decided not
honestly.
to charge any of the police
No,
with
the
homicide.
thing
You
that
said
sucks,
it raises the question,
their
quote,
messaging is shitty
whether
because
justice
there's no,
could be
like,
equally
they're doing the same thing
applied
as Trump
in
is
America.
doing.
Do you
They're trying to meet him
that there is
with
a
the
separate
conversation
but
of being about, like,
unequal
law and
system of
order
justice
and
for
maintaining order
blacks in
and,
this country?
you know,
Yes,
fucking
there's systemic
arresting rioters and
injustice
shit.
in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men
Bad.
and women. They
Fuck
risk
off.
their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable.
No, the whole
They have
system needs to
held
be flipped
accountable.
upside down.
And what I'm going to
And
do
it
as
needs to be
President of the United
fixed
States is call a
from the bottom up.
together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
What is peaceful
Okay.
protest? When they run through the middle of a town
President Trump,
and burn down your
President Trump,
stores and
Hell
kill
yeah.
people all
President
over
Trump,
the place?
that
and
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest?
It's
President
getting
Trump,
wild.
I'm
If this
asking
one's
you
gonna
say
be,
this.
I can already tell this is
President
gonna
Trump,
be
I'd like to
crazy.
continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of
He
law
needs to
and
talk
order
about how
in a
rioting is
moment.
the language of
This
the
month,
unheard, like that
your
type of language.
administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or
I think it's, and I think
race
it's
theory.
needless to say, like neither one
Why
of these
did you
motherfuckers cares
decide
about black
to
people.
do that, to end racial sensitivity training, and
I don't
you
think
believe
that
there is systemic
Biden
racism
would
in
ever
this
say
country,
talk
sir?
anything about
I
that.
ended it because it's
No.
racist.
Even
I
if he
ended it
was trying to,
because a
like,
lot of
reach out to
people
the
were
radical-
complaining that they were asked to
I
do
doubt he
things
would
that
ever
were
say something like
absolutely
rioting is the-
insane, that
But you said the
it was
language
a
of the unheard.
radical,
Yeah, and I mean
Which I
that's
agree
a,
with.
that's a
taking
direct
place
Martin Luther
in our
King
military,
quote. That's why I
in
said
our
that.
schools, all over the
Nice.
place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
is radical?
It's like a
And you
really
know it.
common one.
It's totally
About
racist.
It gets
racial
thrown around a lot.
sensitivity training, sir.
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do
Oh,
that.
here we
I'm not
go.
going to allow that to happen.
The
We have to
radical
go back
Marxists at
to
the
core
schools.
values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place. It's a
True.
racist place.
True.
And they were teaching people to hate our country.
True.
And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden.
Nobody's doing that. He's a racist.
You just don't.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
This
that.
is like the
Yeah,
fascist
let him
shit. I don't know if he's going to get all the way into
There
it.
is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important to people know. They don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people.
True.
They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who
That's
are
true.
of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it
No,
together.
he needs to stop talking
We
about
can
unity
take
and
this
shit.
on
It's
and
not-
we can defeat
that's not what people
racism
wanna
in
hear.
America.
President
That's not what
Trump
people
said.
want to hear.
During the Obama-Biden administration,
He's not. The
there
thing
was
that sucks about his
tremendous
racism
division.
messaging is
There
not
was
combative
hatred.
enough.
You look at,
Like he's not like we're gonna fucking
Ferguson, you look at,
we're gonna
you
fucking
go to
flip this
very
upside
many
down until we
places.
figure
Look
out
at
what's
Oakland.
wrong.
Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what
He's
happened.
like, oh, we just
frankly,
all
it
need to
was
come
more
together and
violent than what I'm
kumbaya,
even seeing
and
now.
shit'll be okay.
But the reason
This
is
is
that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime-
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of
No, yeah,
law.
Biden
You
is
follow
definitely
me.
Creed,
Law
like
and order.
in the
Yes,
future,
You asked a
100%.
Law and order.
Loses
Let
law
him-
and
let him-
order.
let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more in ours.
All right, we're
He
now,
is
you're,
president of
Mr.
the
President,
United
you're going
States
to,
of America.
China, we
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very
President.
happy because
And
we're now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my question. There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in
Damn.
America this summer,
He's so
particularly, and
angry
you
right
often
now.
blame
He
the
looks so
Democratic
mad.
I know, he's
mayors
pissed
and
off. He
Democratic
hates black
governors,
people.
But in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple.
I like
of
how they
examples,
went
but
with
if
the
you look
decorative
at
ties.
Chicago,
I
what's
fuck with
going
it.
on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It
Republican
is
cities.
crazy what's going on. And he doesn't
That's
want to say law and
fear-mongering.
order because
This
he
is
can't,
all
because he'll
bullshit, of
lose
course.
his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have
We would
our
run it
suburbs
the
would be
way-
gone. By the way,
Suburbs.
our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
would
seen.
know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead.
I was-
So much
I
better.
was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're
That's
being
good.
burned out because his refusal to do anything.
Talk about the kids
That's
at the
why
border.
The suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though.
Oh, well, I
And
guess not
in
relevant
the
right
joint
now.
recommendation
But
that
still.
came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
Oh,
It means-
shit.
let me, if I might finish
This
the question.
is actually a
what
hard
does
question.
reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. and I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down.
This is an awful messaging.
It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to
It'll work on people in suburbs.
Talking about, Chris. That's not what he's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support.
Look,
he has no law enforcement
that's not
support.
true.
Almost
He needs to own the defunding the police thing, and then talk about how defunding the police means reallocating resources.
Go ahead.
I mean, he's not going to do that, of course.
We don't have time to do anything.
All right. Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
There
moderator's
aren't. I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is, as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted.
It should.
Who commits
I mean,
it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people.
It shouldn't,
the
but I mean, it's
sir.
not awful to say
You
that
have
it should.
never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really? Really?
Here's the thing.
I sent in the
No, don't accept it. Just power through. This is where you just power through.
Shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland
This is where you should bring up the kid who shot those people in fucking Minnesota.
And by the way, you know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think it's Kellyanne Conway.
Oh, Kellyanne Conway.
She
Okay.
said that.
Okay.
And so here's the.
All right.
It's a
He almost forgot.
No, there has to be a
That's what
K
he
in
is,
there.
keeps trying to rile.
Dude, he almost did
He
not
doesn't wanna
remember
calm
that
things
shit.
down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody
He would have been
together,
owned.
figure out how to
For
deal
sure.
with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
I have to answer his statement.
You have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
you have
just 1
No,
second.
you've been talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You know,
we
if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We could very quickly.
we could do that. But I'm
Chris Wallace
the
is
National
funny.
Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
But they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist
Oh, my
groups.
God.
But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia
Oh,
groups?
I'm
and
interested to see what he says.
say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do
specifically
that, but
do it?
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say,
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from
wrong.
the right wing.
So what do you
That's
what do you say?
expected.
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
You want to call them? What do you want to call them?
The police are doing all the violence.
Supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing
threat of
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
you
Nice.
Not militia.
Freaking comrade Joe
It is an
Biden.
idea.
You hear that?
his
You hear that?
FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
No,
He's wrong.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next.
Everybody-
We're moving.
I love that. I love that.
Everybody in your administration
I'm super here for that
tells you the truth
messaging.
has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When a president,
I wish they
I'm
took
gonna
breaks
ask
in
a
between
question.
questions because there's so much I
When
want
the
to say.
president seeks a second term,
That was funny though. That was
it is
just that was really
generally
good. That was a good
referendum
answer.
on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight
Yeah,
both
Hillary Clinton
flanks and
sucks.
behind
That's
me
true.
and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen.
Was it?
People were calling me for the first
It
time
was
in
not.
years. They were calling.
Absolutely
And
not.
they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A
Building it back
rebuilding
up
of
again.
the military, including Space Force and all of the
Oh
other
my
things.
God, who cares about the
A
Space Force?
fixing of the VA,
That's so,
which was
like,
a mess under him.
it's such a fucking
308,000
distraction.
people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300,
Oof.
and
That's
hopefully
actually really
3
frightening.
great Supreme Court judges, justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill.
True.
When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you, because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking
300
at both your
judges.
records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump?
this
You have 2
president-
minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got
And-
Putin, man.
That's right. And by the way, my son.
Wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted.
Okay,
Well,
one thing
your
I don't like
side
about Joe
agreed to it.
Biden's messaging
And
is he always talks
why
about
don't
how
you
bad
observe
Trump
what
is,
your campaign
but he
agreed
never
to as a
like
ground
offers
rule,
any
okay, sir?
solutions
He
to
never
like
keeps his
what's
word.
bad
Let me
about
ask
Trump.
you,
He never
I'm
talks
not
about
asking
like
that.
any
That was a
policies he's gonna
rhetorical
do
question.
Can you
that
go
are
back
gonna
30
like make
seconds?
people's lives
Yes,
better.
You may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So
He just talks about how
thirdly,
shitty Trump is doing.
We're poor. The billionaires
I
are
feel like they both haven't really
much
talked
more
about
wealthy
policies.
by a tune
No.
of over 300 to 400 billion.
Trump just plays
more
himself up a
just
lot.
since
He's talked about
COVID.
what he's done.
You and the
He's not talking about what he's going to do.
You're in
Yeah.
more trouble than you were before.
And with Biden, he's
In
not talking
terms
about how
of
he's going to
being
fix what
more
Trump has done.
violent.
Yeah.
When we were in office, there were 15%.
And it's good to shit on Trump like that, but you also got to get people
He's
excited,
president of
and
the United States.
it's like right
It's
now
on
he's
his
just doing a lot
watch.
of stuff that's
And
making
with
people
regard to
comfortable
more
and making
divided,
people be like,
the
oh yeah,
nation
that's the
can't
bad
stay
guy, of
divided.
course,
It can't be
but
this
it doesn't
way.
make
And speaking
it doesn't
of
make
my
people who
son,
normally
the way
don't
you
vote like
talk about the
excited.
military, the way
It
you
doesn't get
talk
people
about
excited
them
to
being
vote for Joe Biden
losers
because
and
there's no material
just
benefit
being
for them.
Suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there.
That was an awful war, Joe.
He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah, you
Hunter
know
got
Bo.
thrown. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown
Oh,
out,
shit, here we go.
dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
For
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use. And he didn't
Nice.
have a job.
That's
until he
cool. What the
became vice
fuck?
President. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
No, that's
he made a
cool. That's
fortune
cool.
in
Hunter Biden's
Ukraine,
cool.
In China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son,
fortune.
my son.
And he
Hunter
didn't have
Biden's
a
actually
job.
cool as
son,
fuck, honestly.
Like a lot of people you know at home, had a drug problem.
He does crack,
He's
or he did
overtaken
crack.
it.
He got caught doing crack.
He's fixed it.
Dang.
He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he?
Proud of my
Hunter's
son.
cool.
All right.
But he
You be
wasn't
proud of your
getting
son,
attention.
Biden. You be
Hell
proud of
yeah.
your son.
Be proud of your son, man.
President Trump,
Discredited.
Everybody's got flaws.
Totally discredited.
Feel me?
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make
I know,
a
but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay,
from
great.
the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow,
Let's talk about-
I think it's a
Gentlemen,
Oh my God, he will not let go of the
Why
shit with
did he
Moscow
I-
and Ukraine.
Mitt Romney on that committee said
No,
it
that
wasn't
yeah,
worth
exactly,
taxpayers'
Steven.
money
He's
to
not
put
offering
it
any
in for
alternatives or
political
solutions.
reasons.
You know,
Like the
I'd like
Democrats
to
think
talk about
that just
climate change.
pointing out how
So
bad
do I.
Trump is going to be is going to
Okay.
be enough to get them over the finish
The
line.
forest fires
And I
in the
kind of
West
think
are
that that
raging
might
now.
work,
They
but
have
I'm
burned
not entirely
millions of
confident in it.
acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled
climate
back
change.
a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change?
He's probably not going to
and
answer this
what
question.
will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If
He's
you
not
look
gonna
at
answer the question.
Our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned,
He hasn't said
you
a
need
thing about
forest
what he believes
management
about
in
climate
addition to
change.
everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder.
The trees
and
are tinder.
Leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns
You
down.
drop a
You've
cigarette
gotta
in
have
there.
forest
The way he
management.
talks is
You've
funny.
gotta have
What do you believe about the science of climate
What do you
change?
believe about the science of climate change? I told you he wasn't going to
believe that
answer.
We have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and
He's
do
not
whatever
answering.
else we can. That's
Immaculate
good. You know,
air,
we're planting a
immaculate
billion
water.
trees, the billion
Rich
tree
people
project.
air, okay?
It's very
You
exciting.
literally like
that
saying the
human
complete. He's
pollution,
saying that he
gas,
he's saying he
greenhouse
doesn't
gas
believe in
emissions
it.
contributes to the global
By
warming
saying
I
of the
think a
planet.
lot
what's
of
good
things
about
do,
the
but I
air.
think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning.
Every year you get the
If
call?
that was cleaned.
Oh, he's
if
been
that
president
were-
for 4 years,
If you had
3 years.
forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests.
What are
They
you talking
manage
about,
their
dog?
forests. I was with the head of a major country.
It's like when you're
It's a
smoking, he's
forest
like,
city.
you know, in
He
Europe
said,
they live in
"Sir,
forest
we have
cities. They
trees
call them
that are
forest
far
cities.
more, they ignite much
You're like
easier
smoking with your
than
homie?
California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's
True.
burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you believe in the
Not
science
true.
of climate change,
Oh,
why
sorry,
have you
maybe. I don't
rolled
know.
back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer, it would be much cheaper.
The old
like
slugs.
In the case of
$500.
California, they've simply
No, but you
ignored
would take
your-
a lot
your
of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit.
What is he
of
talking
gasoline.
about?
And
That's
by the-
not-
and-
What is he
and
talking
I'm okay
about?
with electric cars too. I think.
What are
I'm
you
all
talking
for
about?
Electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just
All right.
crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to
What are you talking
respond
about?
to the president's climate
Honestly, though,
change record, but I also want to
he
ask
did
you
it. He was
about
stating
a concern.
everything
You
but
proposed $2 trillion
Yeah.
in green
When he gets
jobs,
confronted
Talking
with
about
something he doesn't want to
everything.
talk about, he
Not
like takes us
abolishing,
somewhere
but
else
new limits
completely.
on fracking, ending the use of
Completely
fossil
different.
fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of
By the way,
dollars.
Biden should have been
Absolutely
interrupting him a
wrong,
lot.
Number one. Number two, if in fact,
True that, yeah.
during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands
This
and
is all
thousands of
lukewarm
jobs.
solutions,
we can
though.
get to net
And doing
zero
market-based
in terms
solutions
of
to problems like
energy
this are not gonna work.
production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating jobs, creating millions of good-paying jobs.
Jobs are
Not
good,
15
but
bucks an
market-based
hour,
solutions aren't
but
going to help this.
Prevailing wage.
Like, you need a
by having
mass,
a
like,
new
fucking
infrastructure
redirection
that,
of
in fact,
wealth.
is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I
And
will join the
resources
Paris
towards
Accord
fighting
because
this.
with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship to.
I mean, I get why he's
foreign
talking. The
policy.
original question was
Brazil,
about
the
jobs.
rainforest of Brazil.
Yeah.
Are being
I think that's what he's
torn
trying to
down, are being
address,
ripped
but I do
down.
agree with you. It's
More
not just
carbon
about,
is
like,
absorbed in that rainforest
the
than
jobs
every bit of
itself.
carbon that's in
Yeah,
the
the problem
United
with
States.
liberals is
We-
like they
Instead
think
of
that you can
doing
fix
something
things by
about
just
that,
buying
I
your
would
way
be
out of
gathering
it.
up and making sure we had the
Like just creating
countries of
money.
the world coming
Like
up with
everything
$20
has to be
billion
about creating money.
Here's $20 billion. Stop.
Or creating value, sorry. Like building wealth.
Tearing down the
know,
forest.
yeah.
And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that
Not true.
you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is the guy who says
I hate this
that,
man so much.
Well, the fact is, it's all true. And here's
He's
the
talking
deal.
about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's
This is why you said
$100
Joe should have been
trillion
I'm
interrupting
talking about
where they
Trump.
want to rip
Yeah.
down
You can go for a
buildings
minute, and then you can go.
and rebuild the building.
No,
It's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous.
is not-
where airplanes are out of business.
That's
Joe
right.
Biden doesn't want the
Two-car
Green New
systems
Deal.
are out, where they
Not
want
true.
to take out the cows too.
Not
That's
true.
not true either.
The cow
right?
farts.
Not
This is
true.
this is a 100
Simply,
trillion.
look,
That's more money than our
is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going.
the case.
All right, let me
It will destroy our
because
country.
I don't know that
wait a
much about
minute,
the Green
sir.
New Deal.
I actually
But I know Joe Biden's not
studied
for
your
it.
plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building
That's not
1.5
enough.
million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the
We
economy.
can't just buy
It's
our
gonna
way
do-
out
it's
of
gonna
climate
create
change.
thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying
trillion.
jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100
They-
billion.
The fact is,
True.
it's going to create millions of good-paying jobs, and these tax incentives to people for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look, how
Bernie
much we're
wouldn't be in
paying
this
now
hole, by the way.
to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear wepen on them. They may.
I never said
True, that was
That's what
funny.
He did say
You made it
that.
up.
Hey, that was
And
hilarious.
Here's the deal.
You make
When
up
he
a
said
word.
that.
We are going to be in a position
He's a
where
moron.
we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. we're in real trouble.
Hurricanes.
Look what's happening just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is not my plan.
That's
the Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is
building.
not my plan.
You want to rebuild every.
If he knew anything about, if he knew anything
he made a
about,
statement about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
what
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called the military
Mr. Vice President.
stupid bastards.
He's like yelling.
He said it on tape. He said
Mr.
stupid bastards.
Not-
Didn't you say that? Didn't he say that?
play it.
Go ahead. Mr.
Didn't he say that? Didn't
Answer
Trump say that?
His final question.
The final question
Am I
is,
tripping?
can't remember which of all his rantings. was.
I'm having a little trouble myself.
I have no idea.
Even the
And
fucking
about the
moderator's
economy
laughing.
And about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your
the
environmental
Green New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for
I like how he just
itself as
accused
we
Joe
go
Biden of
forward.
doing the thing
We're
that they
not
said he
gonna build
did.
plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're gonna
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New Deal.
you don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
bloc.
went to the radical left.
I support
you
the
don't?
Biden
That's true.
plan
That's
that I put
true.
forward.
He just
The
like
Biden
he just
plan,
hung
which
himself.
Is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen. Final
He hung
segment.
himself.
Election
And Trump
integrity.
just
As
like
we
played
meet
into their shit.
Tonight,
He said,
millions
"Oh, you
of
just lost the
Americans
radical
are
left."
receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be?
I don't know. I don't think that's the best tactic, though.
What are you
Honestly,
prepared
like
to
you said
do
earlier, like
over
everybody on the
next
far left.
5+ weeks, because it'll not only be to election day,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
also
They're-
counting some
They made up their mind already
mail-in
about Biden.
ballots after election day.
Exactly.
What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president
It doesn't matter at this
will be
point.
the
It's literally
legitimate
just
winner
versus
of
Trump.
this election
Yep.
in this final
Yeah.
segment? Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating.
This is
They said
an
that.
important one.
The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote.
I hope he's right.
Just make sure you understand.
On the goal,
You
yeah, I'm
have
over
it
here
in
laughing,
your
but,
control
like,
to determine
I don't know, man.
What this country's going to look like the next 4
knows.
years. Is it going to change?
Might-
You're gonna
he
get
might
4
actually
more
stick
years
around.
of these lies.
Yeah.
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people.
Why are we
there
talking about
was no
Hillary Clinton in
transition
2020?
Because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country, and we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way,
Obama
you gave
did
the idea
spy
for
on
the
him, I
Logan
think.
Act against
I think-
General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense, and President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump. Just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste.
I heard there was like
basket.
9. There was
They're
only
being
like
sent
9
all over
ballots,
the
dude,
place.
that they found.
They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's
This is
nice
bad, though.
on November 3rd. You're watching.
This is
and
not
you see
for
who
this
won
is
the
not for
election.
people who are going to
I
vote
think
for
we're
him.
gonna do well,
I mean, this is
because
not to try to
people
get
are really
people to vote
happy
for
with
him.
the job
This
we've
is for
done.
people who
But
are
you
already
know what?
set in voting
We
for
won't
him.
know. We might not
He's
know
trying to
for months,
delegitimize the election.
because these ballots are going to be all over.
Yeah.
Take a look at what happened
And,
in Manhattan. Take a look at what
like the
happened
people who
in
would do
New
mail-in
Jersey. Take a look at
ballots,
what happened in Virginia and other places.
the
They're
people
not
that
losing
wouldn't go out and
2%,
vote in
1%,
person.
which, by the
Yeah.
way, is too much.
Because it's
An
more
election could be
convenient.
won or lost
Do
with that.
mail-in.
They're losing
'cause there's a
30
pandemic.
and 40%. It's a fraud. And
That-
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major
No,
states
time-
with that.
sir,
all run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All run by
You're-
Democrats. It's
President
a fraud.
Trump,
It's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter, of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election
We're gonna
itself.
die, dude.
But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what are
They
you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
There
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now.
do
What
is
are
you
gonna
go
do?
and vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and that's
I'm not-
okay,
I know
or
your
you go and
complaint.
vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go
have
and
received-
vote. You go and
No,
vote,
but
like
what I'm
they
saying is, what are
like
you
they
gonna do
used
about
to
the
in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of
He's
people-
trying to
What
get
you
his
need to
people
do,
to vote in
there's a
person,
solicited
because
ballot where you're
if he gets
sending it
more
in,
of his
they're
people to
sending
vote
it
in
back, and you're
person and he
sending-
wins
They have
with the
mailmen,
in-person
lots
votes,
of it. Did you see what's going on? Take
he
a
can
look at
say
West
like,
Virginia
hey, they
mailmen
fucking
selling the
cheated. Like
ballots.
when the results come
They're
back with the
being
mail
sold.
votes and
They're
shit,
being dumped
with the
in
mail-in votes and
rivers.
shit, he can be like,
This
hey,
is
they
a
fucking
horrible
cheated.
thing
Like,
for our country.
I
This
won
is not-
already.
no-
If he
This is
wins,
not going
I'm
to
afraid,
end
honestly,
well.
if he even just
This
wins
is not
on the
going
first
to
day
end well.
with all the in-person ballots.
ballots for the
Even if
last
Joe Biden like comes from
decade
behind
or
with the
more,
mail-in ballots.
5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you.
He's
It's
trying to
sent your
delegitimize
home.
the voting
What we're
process.
saying is, they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by the time, by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
You're
what the
wrong.
outcome
You're
will be.
wrong.
No, I want to continue with you on
I
this,
love
Vice
counting the
President
vote.
Biden.
Chris,
because
he's so wrong when he makes
in
a
fact,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me, Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court, with a Justice Barrett, will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you
I
have
a final,
80 million ballots
gentlemen, I have a final
sent in
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already
All
there's
right.
been
So now,
fraud.
Mail service delivers
wait a minute, gentlemen. In the
185
final
million
question,
This is a live
in
question.
8 states,
Mail-in ballots have been a thing forever.
in 8 states, election
There's machines that
workers
literally
are
count the votes.
prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days.
This is what I was talking about just now.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch.
See, this is like that weird shit. He's like trying to get people to come to the polls and like watch them and shit.
I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that
from
mean,
a common sense,
does that mean you're going to tell your people to take to the
it means you have a fraudulent election. You're sending out 80 million ballots. They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two.
He's trying to get him to go mask off.
They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military.
Or he's trying to make him directly answer.
Vice President Biden,
like if he's gonna like want people to get violent in the streets over it.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm?
Of course he's not going to say
while
that.
the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since at the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent?
Oh my God!
It's the same process. It's honest. No one has
He's being
established
too
at all
non-combative
that
right
there
here.
is
He's like trying to be the.
fraud related
He's trying to take the high road. You
mail-in
know.
ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established.
But he needs to like call him out. He needs to call him out for being a fucking
Look at Carolyn Monroe.
like for subverting the
They have no idea
process
what
itself.
Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted,
It's gonna be a shit show.
that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an
fact,
honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of
Chris,
it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump.
Man, that was really good.
Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University.
I mean, it was good.
And the Cleveland Clinic for
I feel like
hosting
Biden
this
held up
event.
his
The
own.
next debate,
He did. He
sponsored
did
by
better
the
than
Commission on
most people I
Presidential
think thought he
Debates.
would.
Will be 1 week from
I
tomorrow,
definitely
October 7th,
thought
at the
he was gonna do a lot of
University of
worse.
Utah. In Salt Lake City.
Trump was
2
Trump.
vice presidential
As
Yeah.
usual.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Everything I expected from Trump was, true. That happened.
Trump is still pretty sharp. He's still pretty sharp.
But my dude, the guy was literally debating with the moderator, man. Like,
Yeah.
bro,
No, that was crazy.
I don't even know. Like, the guy's literally like so. He had such a big head and so hot-headed, dude.
Yeah. I like.
Oh my God, man.
Okay, I know nobody wants to vote for neither one of these motherfuckers, but like, this is like exactly like this is like the best thing about this entire fucking election season is that like you have these two fucking geriatrics like forgetting where they're at every 5 minutes. Like they both think they're in the 80s, like every 5-10 minutes, and they're just like, you know, Trump is Trump. He's like loud and he doesn't really care like about the rules or respecting Joe Biden as a person at all. And Joe Biden's trying to play this like high road. I think he did a lot better than I thought he would. Honestly, it was a lot of fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch. As far as like, what's up, Tim? How you doing, man? As far as actual fun to watch, I'm gonna have to give this like a strong. I'm gonna have to rate this debate like a strong 8. Out of 5, I'm gonna give it. Out of 5, I'm gonna give it a 4.2.
Man, I don't even know if I could do that, man. Like,
no.
If I had to rate their performances, Trump gets a 5 out of 5. That guy, man. I don't know, man.
I know. I know.
He stays on his shit, man. But he's
a good
Trump,
rhetorician.
You know?
Yeah.
I fucking hate everything he says. But Joe Biden, I gotta give him a solid 4.
I'll give him a 4. I'll give him a 4. He did a lot better. Like I said, I seriously thought someone was gonna punch someone else. It got pretty fucking. Who y'all got on? Who y'all got right now? What do you mean who we got? The moderator. Yeah, Trump was straight up debating with the moderator at some points. That was wild. But
and who do we got? Who do we think is gonna win?
I don't. Bro. I think Joe Biden has a pretty strong chance, but you never fucking know, honestly.
Dude, who fucking knows, man?
Yeah.
Who knows? I want Joe Biden to win. I feel like he has a more decent chance after seeing this. But overall, I don't even know, dude. I have no idea.
Definitely.
Bro, who the fuck knows? Who knows what the fuck is gonna happen, man? This is such a I don't know, man. I don't know. That debate was just something else.
That was good. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, Trump, he's really good at first of all, when he gets asked a question he doesn't want to answer, he's really good at redirecting it. Like when they were doing the climate change stuff, he never answered any of the questions at all. And those are the parts where Trump should
Exactly.
That's the parts where like Joe Biden should have been interrupting him and like repeating the question to him. You know what I mean? Like repeating what the moderator had asked. Like making him like trying to hold him to it as much as possible.
Because that's playing Trump's own game. Like I said earlier, it's like you got to play his game. It's just you got to play it to your advantage, which in that case that would be playing to his advantage. Asking the question again because the guy literally would have avoided a question that he didn't want to answer.
Yeah. He talked over him a lot. That's actually like, it's really effective for like this type of shit because, of course, like in true American fashion, Americans respond really well when you do like wrestling style debates where people just yell over each other and call each other names. I mean, myself included, that was a lot of fun to watch, like I said, I was like, the parts where he started talking about his son and shit, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
That shit was crazy, dude. He literally, Trump hit so many low blows.
You showed nips in the background. That was actually my nips, so congratulations.
Bro?
Yeah. It was like, it was like a photo that I took. Oh my god, this is fucking awful. It was a photo that I took, like from the bottom of my nips, like to make it look like I had boobs,
Oh my god.
No, Joe Biden looks like he was on Adderall. No, it was like I was sending it to somebody as like a joke, That's funny,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
Hi, bro.
That was funny. Man. That was funny.
Hilarious.
That's hilarious.
He said open the folder.
No, I'm not gonna open it. I'm not gonna open it right here. But no, it was funny. It was a really good joke, and the person I sent it to thought it was hilarious. They were like, "Whose are those?"
I don't even know what.
Najee had to bring that shit up. Anyway.
Anyway.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that Biden did pretty good. He did better than I expected him to. Like I said, I think he was on Adderall or something. He was like this the whole time.
You can definitely tell he was back down, and I still feel like he was messing up his words.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely heard like, bro, like, dude, it's so funny because if you play back, he mentioned whatever her name is, Kellyanne
Conway, yeah, and he almost forgot her name, dude.
The thing is, he said do. The word was supposed to be do, but he said Duke, and I was like, and then Trump asked who is it, and then I was like, it has to be a K. It has to be a K in the name of sword. And I was like, dude, it was Kellyanne Conway.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
The first name, the last name has a cut in it, bro.
That's hilarious.
Bro. This guy's literally slurring his
dude.
words,
he
man.
almost. That was a really good. That was a really good point in the debate because he was like saying that she said all that shit, and then Trump was like, "Who said that? Who said that?" And he like almost forgot it. And if he wouldn't have remembered that shit, it would have looked so bad. But the fact that he remembered her name just like saved him a lot. It was great.
Man.
That was a good debate, dude.
And honestly,
happy birthday to me. I really wanted to see this, and I'm not disappointed.
It's your birthday?
No, I'm saying like, this was a gift personally to me.
That's what's up. I'm just glad Biden stood his ground, man.
No, yeah.
Honestly, if I had to say anything, like I'm looking back at what Tim said, how they curbed the questions. I feel like that's just all, what is it? All politicians. They don't ever answer the question directly. They'll avoid it as much as possible, but kind of stay on topic. It's like how Biden was being very vague with his we gotta come together. You know, we gotta be one. We gotta help each other out. It's like, no, there were times where he what was it? He said Antifa is an idea.
That was really good. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Comrade Biden.
So he did have like some more left ideas and not just try to stay in the center.
He didn't completely throw the left to the fucking lions. That's true.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like Trump is kind of playing up the idea that he needs to toe the line a little bit too much because, like you said, like we were talking about earlier, most people who are far left, they have already made up their mind on Joe Biden. You know what I mean? Like if they're gonna vote for him, they're gonna vote for him. If they're not going to, there's not really much you can say in a debate that's gonna make him vote for them. The thing that's going to push people who are far left to vote for Joe Biden, and this is the thing, it's not going to be anything Joe Biden does. It's going to be how far Trump takes things before Election Day.
Yeah.
Like that's the compelling force in this entire election is like, how bad do people want Trump out of there? Because the Democrats aren't really doing anything to actually reach out to get people excited about voting. Like I was talking about earlier, they just talk about how bad Trump is, and that was on full display here with Joe Biden. Every time there was a question about something, he would talk about how bad Trump has fucked it up. And that's pretty much the Democrats' entire strategy is not to offer any solutions, but just to talk about how bad Trump is. And that's going to be, like I said, that's going to be the deciding factor because that's the only messaging they're using is how bad he is. So, and they're pretty much relying on that to get him over the line. And I don't know if it's going to work or not. I think that there's a decent chance it can. Biden's had a pretty steady lead for a while. Can't always trust polls, but yeah. Like I said, it just depends on what Trump does.
How do you think the next debate's gonna go?
I don't know, but I'm super here for it. You want to do the next one?
I'm down.
Okay, yeah. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself.
I will say this is the first time I've ever like watched a full debate. I've always like, this is the debate's on. Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
Then you watch some of it.
And then I'm like, okay, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's like, all right, cool.
This is like this is one of the best. Like high key, this is one of the best ones I've ever watched. Like straight up. It was hilarious. It reminded me of I watch a lot of people debate on YouTube, like blood sports debate, where like they talk shit to each other and stuff like that. And it's like it reminded me of one of those. It was great. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I can agree.
I would definitely like to do the next one.
Man. He said he thinks it can work. If you're talking about what Raul said about the Democrats' tactic on just making Trump look bad, yeah, I think that's what they got to do.
Yeah, I think it might work, but I'm kind of skeptical of it a little bit too. I don't know. I don't trust it all the way. I feel like you're leaving so much so much tactical tactical advantage on the table by like not trying to offer people incentives like economic restitution, you know, or like playing more into like the BLM stuff. Like I feel like they're trying to toe the line between making suburban rich people like nervous too much, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that they got a good chance of winning like that, but I don't trust it all the way. I don't think that I don't know if it's going to pull them all the way over the line, but I think that the anti-Trump sentiment is really strong, but they're relying on it a little too much, I think.
True. Then, like you said, he needs to come up with solutions instead of just like, you know, this is what Trump has done.
Yep.
This is Trump's America.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still a toss-up. Still a toss-up, I think. It can go either way still. I think he's trying, like when he talks, he's very careful not to say anything. Tim, by the way, I'm responding to you. When he talks, he's very careful not to say anything that would like offend that would offend like rich people or like upper middle class like suburbanites. Like he's very careful not to say stuff like that, like not play too much into the support for BLM, or like not talk too much about economic relief for working people. Like nobody talked about a stimulus check in this debate at all, even though like that would get like either one of these two people, it would get either one of them like a shitload of votes easily.
Like he's again, they're not talking about solutions. They're not like, and I hope they talk about this in the next debate. You know,
Yeah.
Like to not talk about like the stimulus checks or anything. Especially like, you know, the average Americans, how like this has affected them more than anything else. I don't think they've really talked about it. You know, they talked about it. Of course, they talked about it, but they didn't offer, you know, ways to fix the problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Or even like, you know, Biden doesn't talk about like how Trump's preventing, you know, holding back growth and progress in the middle class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for the next one. That was a lot of fun. I was like, when I asked you to do it, I was like, we'll see how this goes. But as it got closer, I got more excited, and I wasn't disappointed. It was like exactly the fucking clown show I thought it was gonna be.
Honestly, I gotta agree with you on that. It was exactly how I planned it. I did better than I thought.
Yeah,
it was a shit show. It was a okay. I wouldn't say a shit show entirely. It was a fiasco.
Yeah, it was definitely a fiasco. It was a spectacle for sure. But yeah, you got anything else?
Nah, man. Nah, until next time.
Yeah, okay. We'll be back Sunday for an episode for sure. I know we've missed 2 in a row, but we'll be back for an episode Sunday. I had a lot of fun. It was a very, very interesting thing to watch. Like I said, I was not disappointed at all. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I hope that our commentary is like somewhat informative and it helps you guys kind of parse some of this messaging, because it can be like really fucking dense, and you know, these guys like to fucking talk in circles a lot. Don't trust them. But yeah, I really appreciate y'all. We actually held like a really consistent viewer base throughout this entire thanks Tim. Thank you for stopping by. We actually held like a really consistent viewer base like throughout this entire debate, and I'm excited to do the next one with you guys too. It was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll have Darian next time. Hopefully we can get Darian next time. If we get the full trifecta of the Brodies, yeah. No, definitely. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, guys.
It'll be insane.
I appreciate y'all.
I'll take it easy. Peace.